Alrighty. It's time to do this. Give everyone a moment to come in, because live in that. So yeah, it's probably best for me to do this the same way I started it. 100 subscriber. Thank you, Rolo. I'm very unfortunate that I couldn't do NXT stuff with you, but the circumstance couldn't really help itself. So it is what it is. I'm just distributing the stream everywhere I need to. And yeah, I felt it was only right for that way. It was only right for me to do that with the with the GIF and the fact that all good. I was very proud of my 30 minutes of rant with you. I know. So I'm just waiting for slightly more people to kind of join in. If you're in, by all means, please comment in chat and stuff, because this is probably the realest I'm ever gonna be. All right, here we go. So, as most people know, I took some time off streaming NXT following New Year's Evil. I had a holiday with family, which went amazing. It was much time to myself that I really needed, and I absolutely and utterly loved it. I had my PlayStation be put in to get fixed, and I had gotten it like a day after coming back. Obviously, I kind of was going through some more relaxing time with family, so I didn't turn it on necessarily straight away. When I had turned it on, however, some of my game's files were either not there, which was fun because I have majority of them backed up and they were live games, so like stuff like Apex Legends in GTA, where all of my big amount of game was saved on their servers and not mine, so I could easily get that stuff back. But upon launching WWE 2K23, the file was completely and utterly corrupted. So I could not do anything for it. The only thing I could do was delete it. So I unfortunately had to, and I tried to go back through PlayStation's cloud save data and find if I backed up. It was backed up, but it was a much later version of my save file. One where I had only just started, where I had a few people that were on that save and not a lot of versions. It was basically way before I was even a affiliate with TPW. So I have to slightly go back to the events leading into New Year's Evil. So I had a very good mindset, but I also I wasn't 100% sure about continuing NXT. Like I had the mindset of going to WrestleMania, NXT WrestleMania, and then finishing off the series there, not renewing it for a season 2, if you will. And I was kind of tossing up between that or continuing it, and I still wasn't completely sure about it. But this event kind of killed that for me. It's kind of made me lean towards not continuing it. Because, yeah, I had the choice to... Because, mind you, when the file got corrupted and I had to go to an older version, I've lost all the custom championships I've used for NXT, all the custom stages I've used for NXT, if not all creator characters I used for NXT, which granted I could get back, but it would take some time, and outdated versions of people that I had personally made. So no Jackson Rogers, no Maya Rogers, a out-of-date Liam Rogers, and no Jace Gold. So it realistically, if I wanted to pick up NXT, it would take a good month for me to sit down, make everything, get everything back, and then, of course, put it all into universe mode, have it laid out the way it was for me to continue doing NXT. But then doing that and still having the feeling of not want to continue it, it's like, why would I rebuild it all to then just stop? So I wanted to get on stream and make the official announcement that NXT will not be continuing. And I know that some people are 100% going to be thrilled, go, oh yay, NXT is no longer here, now we can just focus on our own crap. But then I know that some people are going to be very, very disappointed, because some people put a lot of effort into NXT. So I thought, instead of just saying, hey, NXT's over, sorry, and then just ending it there on a simple text message or anything, that I was actually going to lay out from all of the creator characters that I had signed to NXT, who was gonna, where their stories were gonna go. Because some people that were very, very close to me in the creation of NXT, the people that were very close to me, I kept them in the loop of all stories. So from this moment, from the end of New Year's Evil to WrestleMania, I'm going to lay out the stories that I had planned for each character. Not just the CAWs, not every single person. We don't want to know what Bray Wyatt's storyline was going to look like. As much as that'd be funny. So let's start with... So mind you, the pay-per-views that we had left in the NXT roster was War Games, then the Royal Rumble, then Elimination Chamber, then NXT Stand and Deliver, and then WrestleMania. So we had about 5 more pay-per-views to go. And there was some really big storylines that were going to go into that. So let's start off at the top of the list. Let's go with Mr. A.J. Owens, coming out of New Year's Evil as the North American champion. He was going to go into a program where he was basically going to be the John Cena of NXT, constantly trying to put over younger talent, not necessarily for the title, but basically elevating people, because anyone could get into a good program, and since AJ Owens was Jordan Matthews' character, well, second character at least, it was going to be very, very good to elevate people. So he was going to elevate people like Antonio West, like other people that I had brought in, like the Machine H, and all of those kind of people as well. And he was inevitably going to have a Mania match against Jordan Matthews. That was going to be the angle for him, to finally conquer his past of being in a former tag team with Jordan Matthews. That was going to be the angle for him. Now we move over to Jessica Akane, who had a match at New Year's Evil for the Women's Championship in a losing effort against Shayna Baszler. Since Jessica Nakano had a bunch of other people in her corner, she would basically have kind of the group to face Shayna Baszler, and she was going to get a match for it at the Royal Rumble, where, hopefully in a winning effort, she would take that, and eventually she would take it to Elimination Chamber to be in the chamber with herself, Jessica Akane, Hayley Hunter, Asuka, and Dakota Kai, and Rhea Ripley. And eventually, she'd retain it, going to Mania to face whoever won the Women's Royal Rumble. Now we go with Nixum. So Nixum had an interesting storyline because he had just won the Tag Team Championships with Mr. Jon Moxley. So what was going to happen was he and Moxley were going to align with Karrion Kross, and they were going to make a little 3-person faction. But then, very, very quickly, Moxley was going to turn on Nixum and then align himself with a recent signee of Seth Rollins and a debuting Roman Reigns, making The Shield. Nixum would then face them, retain the Tag Team Championships, now holding them Karrion Kross, because he'd be losing his championship literally the week against Chris Adams, which I'll get to in a minute. He would hold the Tag Team Championships, and then he would go for a rematch against DIY in a losing effort, and DIY would take the Tag Team Championships to WrestleMania for a 3-team WrestleMania match, being The Shield, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, versus Nixum and Kross versus DIY. That was going to be that Mania match. Now we get on to Chris Adams. So as you know from New Year's Evil, Chris Adams came up short in a in a game software. So in the 2K games, the game will prioritize a submission over a pin. So that's why Kross walked out of there, the NXT champion, and not Chris. But he was going to win it on the NXT after, and he was going to hold it for a while until the Royal Rumble, and we'll get to that big angle in a second. Trust me, long-term storybooking is very, very favorable for me. But now we get over to the UK custom characters. So first off, we have Aries Rising and Jack Carr, the current NXT UK Tag Team Champions. So, upon them eventually, inevitably, losing them at Elimination Chamber to the Street Profits, Jack would immediately turn on Aries Rising. Then, upon backstage witnessing, he would see something happen that I will get to, because it's kind of all revolving around one person, and you'll see that in a second. But Jack Carr was going to have one of the biggest matches in WrestleMania history after basically turning to one of those faces that does heel things, which we kind of know Jack for. So he was just going to go through that entire thing with Aries Rising. However, he was going to be facing Mr. Jackson Rogers for the UK Heritage Championship, and he was going to win that at Mania to finally prevail himself as a singles talent. Wesley Wolf released. The Machine H, he would be a really good contender for the NXT UK Championship upon a certain man winning it off of Liam Rogers, being Jordan Matthews. That would be a really good angle for him to pass the torch to another younger talent, and H would be a really big and good UK champion. Now we have Jackson and Maya Rogers. Maya Rogers, as you know, at New Year's Evil, won the Women's Championship, and she would eventually lose it to another upcomer, which is another one of MC's family members. You know the one. They would go back and forth all the way up until Mania, where it would be, inevitably, a 2-on-2 mixed gender match. You get the picture. But now we get into the one thing that would have controlled everything, which is me, Liam Rogers. Liam Rogers would lose the NXT UK Championship to Jordan Matthews upon beating Reese for the right to challenge a contract to then face him for the belt. Jordan would finally get his moment, finally holding a world championship, and Liam Rogers would start to question if he's too old to do this. He would then get turned on by Jai Phillips and the rest of the Australian underground, turning them completely and utterly heel. Then they would recruit his own son, Jackson Rogers, and upon Jai Phillips at New Year's Evil retaining the Heritage Championship, he would say he doesn't need it anymore and drop it to Jackson. Jai would go to War Games and face, it would be the whole of the Australian Underground, so Jai Phillips, Jackson Rogers, Will Ospreay, and Grayson Waller versus the team of Liam Rogers, Jace Gold, Jordan Matthews, and one returning MC. And this is where we get. So MC would start the match, and as we know, he's been off with injury. And he would the Blackheart Originals would win the match, but MC would re-injure himself, and he would go off at Rogers for it, and Jack Carr would see that, and then that would be their Mania match. So Jack Carr's match at WrestleMania was going to be against his father. So, getting a win off, Jai Phillips would eventually verse Mr. H after winning the UK Championship off of Mr. Jordan Matthews, and then win the UK Championship to take it into Mania to verse H in the semi-main event. But now comes to the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble was going to have every single creator character, regardless of championship, regardless of angle. It was going to have every single creator wrestler in it. Whoever won it, however, would immediately be thrown into an impromptu match with a returning and technically debuting Samuel Storm. Samuel Storm obviously being the original NXT GM when this was all still called Blackheart Wrestling. He was going to win the right to challenge, but it was not a right to challenge at WrestleMania. It's actually a right to challenge the pay-per-view before that, that being Stand and Deliver. He would win the NXT Championship at Stand and Deliver, and once again, Samuel Storm being the only GM that Liam Rogers hasn't faced, he would ask for a match at WrestleMania for the one title that he's never won, the NXT Championship. He would say no a shit ton of times until Liam Rogers would embrace that dark side of him one more time to beat the living crap out of him and say, I want my match. Samuel Storm would agree, but with a stipulation that if he wins, he would become NXT champion. But if Samuel Storm retained, then Rogers' career would be over. They would go into the match, and Rogers would lose. Finally putting together all the storylines, and finally Rogers would be out of the picture permanently. And that was going to be the end of NXT. I've already done the Nixon and Moxley stuff. Rewind the video and you'll see it. Trust me. So that was all the angles for almost all the people, and that is that. So now the question is what happens now that all those things are not happening and they're just kind of there. So I'm formally saying that TPW, Raw and SmackDown, Jordan and Ashley will be commencing a draft for the vacant superstars, whether it be the CAWs or the branded normal people. That now means, for some people who don't know the NXT rosters as good as me, is that people like MJF, CM Punk, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Dominic and Rey Mysterio, Dolph Ziggler, Rhea Ripley, LA Knight, Johnny and Tommaso Ciampa, Bobby Lashley, who else? Adam Cole, Bubba Ray and Devon, Eddie Guerrero, Tyler Bate, Shinsuke Nakamura, Walter, all of Imperium and Sami Zayn, they are now all up for the picking. So that's going to be a draft. But the one thing that's guaranteed is that every single person will be continuing to hold their respective championships going into being drafted. So, that means that Maya Rogers, Shayna Baszler, AJ Owens, Nixon and John Moxley, Jack Carr and Aries Rising, and Kyrian Cross will all hold their respective championships. The one rule against this is Jai Phillips. Jai Phillips will not be eligible to draft. Him and Haley Hunter will be exempted from the draft. So, formally, the Heritage Championship, the NXT Heritage Championship, will be dropped to the last person holding it that wasn't named Jai Phillips, which is Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly will be the Heritage Champion going into TPW. But I've only taken out one champion, that being myself as UK champion. So I've had a lot of talks with Jordan, I've had a lot of talks with a bunch of people during the Minecraft streams saying what should we do with that belt. And I haven't told anyone going on to stream what the idea was, so officially I will still be NXT UK champion. But I will not be a part of the draft. I will be very much like a John Cena, a Brock Lesnar. Someone comes to me and says, hey, I want you on my show for this certain amount of time, and then I'll agree. Liam Rogers will still be here. 100%. That's not changing. So, that is everything. And now, a few people that do very much care about the way I book and the way I do things are probably going to wonder, what do I do now? Am I just going to progress to a superstar like most people in the server? Technically. Due to 2K24 coming out in a number of months, I will be doing a Liam Rogers career mode. And that is going to open up an opportunity for everyone. That once that career mode is done, I will be willing to work with a few people that want to be a part of the career mode and have an angle with them versus Rogers to give them some more exposure. If you're not typically like currently in a championship angle right now in TPW, in the events of me doing the career mode, you can come to me and say, hey, I want to use so-and-so in your career mode, and then we can kind of book an angle that will last 3 or 4 episodes, and then that will be that. As much crap as NXT was given across the last few months, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, to giving me this kind of opportunity to show my creativity. It definitely was fun for a good while, and some people were asking me, it's like, would you come back to GM? Currently, I'm not thinking about it, but the door is definitely open. I'll say that. So, again, thank you to absolutely everyone for this. NXT's definitely been my longest series at 40 plus episodes, and yeah, I've really got nothing else to say. So, to the death of NXT, I guess. Some people are sad, but I bet like half of the server is like cheering. So, yeah. Thank you so much. And as Scott Silver would say, till next time, I will see you when I see you. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.